Hello everyone, today we're learning about Mציעא Daf Aleph. Today is the beginning of a fresh new week, and my wife Yuval has been very much helping me to get the shiurim going. So let's start. The shir starts, we're going to start 4 lines down. Ika de masnino lahoder avhona aho, the Tony of Yosef. Some people learn the din of Rav Huna who made the chilik between ribus of goyim and lending out to Jewish people on the din that Rav Yosef learned. It says in the Pasuk, in Kesef Talves, Ami Esa'oni Imoch. The Pasuk comes and tells you that there's a mitzvah to lend out money to someone who needs a loan. We say that in doesn't mean if, it means you should. So, but the Brisa learns, Ami v'nochri, if you have an option to lend out money to a Jewish person or non-Jewish person, Ami koydem, first someone who's Jewish is from your nation. And Oni v'oshir, you have someone rich or someone poor, and they both need a loan. Oni koydem, you should give the poor person first. Aniyecho v'aniye ircho, your poor people who are close to you and the poor people from your city. Aniyecho, your relations, koydem, should give them first before the people from the city. Aniye ircho v'aniye iracher, there's poor people here and poor people in another city, so the people from your city have a right first. Aniye ircho koydem. Omar, we just learned, Ami, a Jewish person, v'nochri, Ami koydem, pshita, obviously you should give it to the Jewish person. Omar Rav Nachman, Omar Lihuna, lo nitzrucha, even if I have an option to give to the non-Jewish person and get interest, and to the Jew I have to give it for free because you're not allowed to take ribis, you should give it and gain no money on this loan and give it to the Jewish person. Tanya Omar Rabbi Yosi, Bo v're'ei semius einim einem shemad b'ribis. Come have a look and see how blind they are, the people who lend in interest. Adam kore lechaver Rasha, if Reuven calls Shimon a Rasha, Yurid imoy lechayov. He'll go mad with him. Shimon will be very upset with him. You called me a Rasha? Beheim and the Malvin beribis mivim edim. They bring edim, witnesses, ulavlo, and someone to write, the kulmus and a pen, like a pen they write ink with, vidyoy and ink, the koismim, and they write it, the choismim and sign. Ploini zeh kofa belokei shol, because he's taking mois beribis. He's a kofa belokei shol. If Reuven calls Shimon Rosh, he'll go mad at him. But here, Reuven and Shimon, who are lending money and interest, go and write it down clearly in a star. How it makes no sense. Someone who has money and he lends him out with no interest. Anyone who does these things, he's going to stay strong forever. What do we learn from here? Someone who does lend out money with interest, his assets drop. We see people, it says here that if you lend money ribis, you lose your money. We know people who don't lend money ribis and still they lost the money. Someone who lost the money but nothing to do with ribis, they could go back up again. The people who meant money in ribis, they fall down and they never go back up again. It says in the Pasuk, Lama Tovid Boigdim Tachrish Kabela Rosho Tzadik Mimeno. So it says that a Rosho's Boilea destroys someone who's Tzadik more than him. Omar Rav Huna, Tzadik Mimeno Boilea. Yeah, he could destroy someone, he could swallow someone who's more Tzadik than him, the Rosho. But Tzamdi Gomo, someone who's a proper, clear, crystal Tzadik, Eino Boilea, he can't harm. Tani Rabbi Omer Gate Tzedek Omolini Mechira. It said in the Pasuk of Mechira that someone who got poor and he gets sold, and it's someone who lent out money in ribis. The Ger Toishov, the Omolini ribis, and by ribis it says that he allowed to lend out money to Ger Toishov. I have a cash on it. So let's see what the Gemara is going to explain. Ger tzedek amolini mechira dichsiv. It says in the pasuk, if your brother will get poor and he gets sold to you as a slave, And we say not only he'll get sold to a slave, to a Jewish person, ela leger, to someone who convicted to Judaism. Shenemar, because later on in the pasuk it says leger. Leger tzedek, not to someone who's a proper ger, ela leger toshav, someone who just keeps 7 mitzvahs bnei noach and he lives in Eretz Yisrael. Shenemar leger toshav, it's in the pasuk that mishpachas ger, when it says the family of the ger, who is that? They are not that he'll get to such a state that this guy who lent out money beribis, he'll be sold to a goy as a slave. He's going to go so bad that he's going to become sold for avodah zarah to work as a slave in the avodah zarah house to cut the wood, etc. How bad the person who lent in ribis is going to go? Omar mar v'lo lecho elo leger, that if he's going to get sold for a ger, shenemar leger, because it's on the pasuk that he's going to get sold to a ger. Lememra, you want to tell me the ger koni eved ivri, a ger could buy a Jewish person as a slave? Veramini, and I have a kasha, ein a ger nikne be'eved ivri, a ger can't sell himself as a eved ivri. The ein ish of a ger and a ish on a ger koinim eved ivri, they can't buy a eved ivri. Then that's a kasha on what we said before, that this guy is going to be sold to a ger. Now the Brisa continues to explain why not. Gerloi nikne be'eved ivri, because it says v'shovel mishpachto, that once he gets freed from his slavery, he goes back to his family. Boinon v'holeka, and a ger doesn't have a family. Vein isha v'ger koinim eved ivri, and the reason why a woman and a ger can't buy a Jewish slave, isha lav oirach ara, because it's not sneer that she should have a man working in a household and living there all the time. Ger nami, the reason why he can't buy a slave is gmiru. We have aloch l'moshe mesina. The makne koni, someone who could be sold as a eved could buy a eved. The loy makne, someone who could never be sold as a eved, loy koni. And we said that ger can't be sold as a eved, so therefore he can't buy a eved. So the church is steer to what we said before, and this is what Rav said early on. Sorry, Rebbe said at the top. Tani Rebbe oimer ger tzedek amolini mechira. I don't know what he means. That's pshat. That's his kasha. So said the Gemara, Omar of Nachman Ritzchok, I'll tell you a teretz. Einoi koine v'dinoi k'Yisrael, aval koine v'dinoi k'Nochri. That means that there is special dinim that when a Jewish person buys another Jewish person as a slave, and that special dinim don't apply by this ger who bought a Jewish slave. He has a normal dinim, he doesn't have those special dinim. Kedetani, like we learned in the Brisa, Nirta, someone who was a slave and he was meant to go back home after when Shemitah came, and he told his master, no, I love you, until he put him to the mezuzah and he make a hole in his ear. And someone who's a slave, a Jewish slave who gets sold to a nochri, if this nochri died or Nirta's master died, normally a eved, the slave, goes down Yerusha to your children. But in these cases, it doesn't. So when we said that before that ger can't buy eved, it means they can't buy eved like Dinei Yisrael, that if he dies, his kids will be Yerusha's eved. But for sure, he could buy a Jewish person as a slave, and that's a pasuk that says that this guy who lent out money to Rebis gets sold to a ger. And that's a teretz on Rebbe's kasha. Omar, now we're going to continue to discuss this price that we learned. Omar, vein isha v'ger koinim eved ivri. Says the Gemara, Neima deloi k'Rabban Shem Gamliel, l'cheret so like Shem Gamliel. The Tanya we learned in the Brisa, isha koines hashvachos, a woman could buy woman slaves. Veina koives avodim, she can't buy men slaves. Rabbi Shem Gamliel oimer af koines avodim, she could buy men slaves. Says the Gemara, filu temer Rabbi Shem Gamliel, v'loi kasha, can be eved ivri, can be eved knani. One is talking about where Rabbi Shem Gamliel said that she could buy, it means Eved Knani, and when we said the woman can't buy, it's Eved Ivri. And what's the difference? The Gemara explains, Ivri Tzonielo. Ivri, if she does Aver of him, he won't publicize it, because he himself would be embarrassed. He keep it secret, and therefore she's not scared to do Aver of him. Knani, but if she buys Eved Knani, Poritzlo, we let her buy Eved Knani, because she won't dare do Aver of him, because the Eved Knani is going to publicize it. So she'll be very careful not to do Avera. And therefore, it could fit in Reb Shimon Gamliel, though he said she could buy Avodim, is talking about a woman could buy Eved Knani, but she can't buy Eved Ivri. Said the Gemara, Ella had the Tony of Yosef, her melotza, someone who's almonoloi tarbi kalba, she shouldn't grow dogs, she shouldn't breed dogs. Veloy tishrei bar beirav boshpiza, and she shouldn't have a ben yeshiva, bocha, staying in a house. Said the Gemara, bishlim a bar beirav, we understand why not. Sonilo, it's no one's going to know about it if she does have error of him, and therefore we don't let that happen. Ella kalba, why can't she have dogs? Given the masterich, since it walks around her, if she does have error of him with this dog will always follow her around. So everyone's going to know about it, and therefore she won't do it. Merutita, she'll be scared. So the Gemara Amri came in the chishod yele umtza. Since if she throws him a bone, Masterich Basra, he'll go after the bone. Amri Inchi, people are going to say, Mishum umtza deshad yele udim Yisrach. If you see the dog following her, they're going to say, oh, because she feeds him nice big bones. We won't say it's because she did Avera of him, and therefore she won't be scared to do Avera, and that therefore we don't let her live with dogs. What the din that the Rebbe said, I don't know what's talking about Ger Toshav that we're saying about Ribis. We're going back. Said the Gemara, it says, if your brother gets poor, moto yodoi imcho, v'chzak boy, Ger v'Toshav v'chai imoch, and he should live with you. Al tikach me'ito neshech v'tarbis, don't take from him money, interest as a loan. And he should see God. And your brother should live with you. And I have a cash on that. In one pasuk it says, I shouldn't say we saw in this pasuk that a ger toshav, you're not allowed to lend him money beribis. And then our mission that I am with base at the top, we lend loivim meim umaldi moisim beribis, talking about goyim. V'chen beger toshav, that's mutter. How did it say in the pasuk that's asa? That was Rebbe's kasha. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchok, miksiv al tikach mi'itom. Then it say, because before that it says about the normal Jewish person, and it says about ger toshav, and afterwards it says don't take mois beribis. It says Rav Nachman bar Yitzchok, does it say al tikach mi'itom from both of them, also the ger toshav and also the Jew mi'ito ksiv? It says from him, Misrael, from the Jew you're not allowed to take money in interest, but from the goy toshav you're allowed to take money in interest, and therefore we have a teretz on Rebbe's kasha. They didn't know about ger toshav and ribis. You're not allowed to lend or borrow money in interest, but you can become a guarantor on a loan to say that if the loiva doesn't pay, you're going to pay. Who is a lender? The lender a Jewish person or not? That the lender is a Jewish person, the malva is a Jewish person. It says in the Mishnah, who on the Brisa, who are the ones who over loisa say of ribis, of loisa simon all of neshech, amalve, va'loive, a'orev, the ones who are the guarantors, va'edim, and the witnesses. So it says clearly that the orev is not allowed to sign a document saying that this money was lent in interest. Elo lenochri, it must be talking about that the malve was a nochri. Says the Gemara, v'kevan the dine de nochri, since in the non-Jewish law, the ozer basa arva, he goes straight away to the guarantor on the loan and he claims from him the money, and then the guarantor of the loan will have to go back to the loiva who's Jewish and take back the money of ribis to himself. You knew the kashaka mini ribisa. It comes out that the Jewish person's taking from his Jewish friend ribis, and that's forbidden. How do we say that's allowed? Omar Rav Sheishes shekibel olav lodun bedin Yisrael. This guy was accepted on himself to din Yisrael, and bedin Yisrael he has to go to the loiva first to get back his money, and therefore the Aryeh is just signing on it. He won't be taking any ribis. Said the Gemara, ikibil olav lodun bedin Yisrael. If he was willing to accept not to be done din Yisrael, ribis namilo lishkol. He shouldn't take ribis. Jews are not allowed to take ribis. Omar Rav Sheishes, it's talking about shekibel olav lezu v'lo kibel olav lezu. He was willing to accept the law that if when he comes to sue the loan, he's going to go straight to the loiva and not to the Aryeh. But to accept the law that you're not allowed to take money beribis, he wasn't willing to accept that. Malve Yisrael mo'isav shenochru midas hanochru. We said in the Mishnah that a Jewish person is allowed to lend out the money of the goy from the knowledge of the goy to a Jew. And we don't really understand what it means. Now the Gemara is going to explain. Toner Rabbanon Malve Yisrael mo'isav shenochru midas hanochru. Avaloi midas Yisrael. Ketzad, what's the case? Yisrael shalova mois min anochri. So we have here Reuven, he's a Yisrael, and we have the Nochri, it's called John. Israel borrowed money from John, beribis. With interest, every week that goes past, he has to pay £1. And now Reuben wants to give John back the loan with the ribis. Comes Shimon and sees, oh, where are you going? You're giving back this money to John. And this Israel Shimon told Reuben, normally give me this money. I'll give you the interest that you pay him, and then you'll pay him at the end, and I'll also gain a bit of a loan time over here, instead of giving it back to the goy. Also, it's forbidden because we look at it as if Reuben's lending out money to Shimon, because now it's nothing to do with the goy. The goy is not involved over here. If Reuben said, you know what, come with me to John, and they go to John, and John says, okay, you can lend it to Shimon, so therefore the loan is considered from John to Shimon, nothing to do with Reuben. Mutter, it's mutter. Now, an opposite case, John borrowed money from Reuben, and he's going to pay him interest, and now John wants to give back the money to Reuben, to the Jew. Shimon found John, and he told him, normally, give me this money that you're going to pay Reuben, and I'll pay you wherever you pay him. And then, let's say, give it to me for another 5 weeks. You pay £1 a week. I'll give you another £5 on the money that you give me. And you give it back to Reuben. Mutter. Because Shimon is borrowing money from John, not from Reuben. If John said, okay, you know what, Shimon, come with me to Reuben. And they went to Reuben. And Reuben said, okay, you could lend this money to Shimon. Also because the loan is considered from Reuben to Shimon. And it's a Jewish person lending money, beribis. So we had here two cases where we went back to the Malva, and the Malva said, okay, give the money to the third person who wants this loan. So says the Gemara on that, Bishlema Seifa, in the Seifa, where the guy who lent the money is John, the non-Jewish person, and he's paying the interest to Reuven. And now they went to Reuven and Reuben said, okay, he told John he could give the money to Shimon. And we said it's forbidden because it's as if it's Reuben, it's coming from Reuben, even though that we know that shlichus doesn't work by non-Jewish people. But we say it makes sense over here that the shlichus that Reuben's telling John to give the money to Shimon is considered shlichus because we go lechumra. We go extra lechumra to say that in such a case that if the shlichus is chal, it's forbidden, and therefore we go to Chumar and we say this is ribis, and therefore Reuben's not allowed to send John to lend out the money to Shimon, even though that John is allowed to lend money to Shimon beribis because he's not Jewish. But we say the Chumar, it's as if it's shlichus of Reuben, and then therefore it's forbidden. Ela Reisha, in the Reisha where the Malve was John, and now Reuben came back to give the money to John, and John told him, don't give me back the money, give it to Shimon. We said it's mutter, but there's no shlichus. Ela Reisha came and they in shlichus lanochri. That means the shlichus when John is sending Reuben and telling him give the money to Shimon, is that shlichus is nochal. You knew the koshokri minei. It's Shimon who's taking the money from Reuben, and Reuben's not allowed to lend out money beribis to Shimon, to his Jewish fellow, and therefore it's forbidden. How is there mutter? The ain shlichus, if it be shlichus, he's doing John shlichus and it's coming from John, but there's no shlichus to a goy. You knew the koshokim in Erubisa. Omar of Huna Bar Manoach Mishmeder Acha Breder of Ika Ochiv Maskin. I'll tell you what we're talking about over here. Kigoin the Omar loy anichem al gabe karkavei potter. That when we came to John didn't say to Reuben, go give it to Shimon. He said, put it on the floor, and that moment you'll be potter as if you paid me. And then Shimon picked it up. So therefore, it's as if Shimon's taking it from John, not from Reuben. So the Gemara, Yochi Meile Memor, what's the chiddush? Obviously, it's back to John's. John's lending out to Shimon. Elomar Papa, Kigoin, Shenosan, Venosan Beyad. So much that Reuben gave the money back to John, and John gave it to Shimon. So the Gemara, Vakati Meile Memor, even more, what's the chiddush? Obviously, he paid back the loan. Now it's John lending out to Shimon. Obviously, he's allowed to. It's a goy to a Jew. What's the problem? So the Gemara, Mao the Tema Nochi Gufei. when the Nochri is doing it, because Reuven came and suggested this, is ki Ovid adated Israel, it's as if he's doing it on the das of the Reuven, because Reuven told him to do it, so he's doing it because of Reuven, and therefore it's like Reuven lending money to Shimon Beribis, and it should be forbidden. Komash Malon, that we don't say that, and we say no, he got back the money, it's John's now John's lending out to Shimon, there's no problem, we have no chashash. Rav Ashi said a different teretz. Ki amrinan ein shlichus lenochri. When do we say there's no shlichus to nochri? That we said a chiddush. That when I send Reuben for something, it's considered if I did it. But to a goy, if I send John, it's not considered I did it. If animili, that's talking about the truma. That's talking about specifically because we learn in the pasuk about truma, a din of shlichus. So we learn dafka over there. You have to be a Jewish person to send him, because it says atem gam atem rabbi shluchachem bnei bris. Avol b'chol haTorah kula. When it comes to other dinei shlichus, yes shlichus lenochri. You could send a guy as a shliach, and it's considered as if he did your shlichus. And therefore, by us, I wouldn't talk about loans. It's nothing to do with truma. Yes shlichus lenochri, and therefore it's not talking about v'nosan bayad. It's somehow Reuben came to give back the loan to John, and John said, "Give it to Shimon." So we say yesh lichus nochri because it's not truma, and therefore it's as if John gave the money to Shimon. Said the Gemara, "V'hoder of Ashi berdusi." It's not true. Maish not truma deloi. Why by truma a shliach needs to be Jewish? Tichsiv atem gam atem. It says atem, and in the pasuk it says by truma came to rumi gam atem. Also you will give truma. So we learn from gam atem that also not only you can give it to a messenger, a shliach, to do your job. So, but we learn also, ma'atem nebris, like you are Jewish, af shluchachem nebris, also the ones who you send has to be Jewish. Shlichus l'chol haTorah kula. How do we know that shlichus works in anything else, not only in truma? Nami mitruma gamrinalo. We learn it from truma. So, like in truma, it has to be a Jewish person to be a messenger to be chal. So, also, l'chol haTorah has to be a Jewish person to be chal. And therefore, also by the loan, the shlichus is not chal, and if it's no nosan b'nosan bayad, it's forbidden, because there's no shlichus to nochri, and it's like Reuben gave money to Shimon, and therefore it's forbidden. Elo de Rav Ashi beduseyu. It's not true. Iko damri. Some people say Rav Ashi didn't say such an extreme said. He said something less. Omar Rav Ashi ki amrin ein shlichus lenochri. When do we say that there's no shlichus with a goy? Animili inu ledidon. When a goy sends a Jewish person as a shlichus, it's no chal. Avan alon ledidu. Avin Elohu shliach. Again, we're saying like this. I might have not explained it right. We're saying like this, that when do we say ein shliach lenochri is a Jew can't send a nochri as a shliach, and therefore in the sefer over there it only works lechumra, and we say it's like ribis. But in the reisha, it's somehow where a goy sent a Jewish person as a shliach, and then it does work because the whole pasuk of Truma is talking about a Jewish person sending a shliach, and then we say a goy can't be a shliach, but when a goy sends a Jewish person as a shliach, it's chal, and therefore in the reisha there's no problem of ribis because John sent the Reuven to give Shimon the money, and therefore it's the shlichus is chal, and therefore it's as if John gave the money in interest, and there's no problem. It's something more like what we said before. V'hoder of Ashi berusi. It's not true. Ma'ishno hinu ledidon. Why is it that a Jew can't send a goy as a shliach? Deloi dichsiv atem gam atem l'rabbi shluchachem. Ma atem nebris af shluchachem nebris. So like we know that, so anon ledidu nami, us to be a shliach to a goy also doesn't work. Ma atem nebris koma. Like it says, from there also we learn that the messenger has to be Jewish. Because who is it talking about where we learn the whole din of shlichus? By Truma, who's the messenger, is a Jewish person. But if the messenger is not a Jewish person, the shoyleach, the one who sends him, who sends the messenger, is not Jewish, it's not chal. And therefore, when a goy sends, even if he sends a Jew, the shlichus is not chal, and therefore it doesn't make sense to ratio why it's mutter, only if you explain if nosan v'nosan beyad. Elo hoder of Ashi berusi. It's not true, and we have to say what we said before. Tzedek Mor Ravina Oma. a different teretz. Need the shlichus lenochri lesle. Very good. Goy can be your shliach. Schia midirabonan islay, but you could be zoicha for him. I could pick up our money and say I'm zoichet for John, and it will be his. Midi they have a cotton like a child. Cotton lav afal gav the lesle shlichus. You can't send him as a messenger. Islay schia. I could be zoicha something for a cotton midirabonan. Ochenami lo ishna. Also over here it's the same. There is schia to a goy. And therefore, when John sent Reuven to give the money to Shimon, Shimon is zoicheret for John, and it becomes John's money, and now John's giving it to Shimon. And therefore, if John's allowed to give money and interest to Shimon, he's not Jewish. Yeah. This is not true. Israel, who's a cotton, shlichus, he'll become a god one day, and he's in Parsha of Shlichus, and therefore Rabbanu will attacking him. Schia. Akum, but goy, lo shlichus, since he'll never become a shliach, even if he'll become a ger, he's not anymore the same person, so goy could never become a shliach, so Rabbanon will not attack him, that he could be zoicha for him. Shkoyach, everyone should have a very blessed, happy week.